Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're talking about the number one characteristic that will determine whether you'll be wealthy or not as wealthy in life. And not just wealthy, but overall successful or not as successful in life, and whether this is something that is learned or something that you are born with. The idea that we're talking about today is the concept of delayed gratification. This concept is so important that Stanford researchers began studying this in children ages 4 to 5 back in the 1960s. What they would do is they'd bring in a group of children, place them individually into a room. They would place a marshmallow in front of them and make a deal with the child that if the child did not eat the marshmallow until the researcher would return, that they would get a second marshmallow. But if the child ate the marshmallow before the researcher would return, they would not get that second marshmallow. Now, some children would immediately eat the marshmallow as soon as the researcher left the room, while others would hem and haw and kind of wait, but ultimately ended up eating the marshmallow. Others would wait the entire amount of time, which is roughly 15 minutes. Now, the children weren't told how much time was going to elapse, but they waited, and once the researcher returned, they were given that second marshmallow. Now, this concept has been studied over time, actually over the course of about 40 years. In some cases, they actually followed up with these children over their lifetime to see how they performed. Now, it was found that the children who delayed gratification in the marshmallow experiment oftentimes were more successful in all aspects of their life, typically through multiple stages of their life, into even being a young adult. Typically in school, their parents would report higher grades. As a young adult, they had better social skills, better health, and overall better success with their careers. Now, this research was so fascinating that other researchers from the University of Rochester decided to replicate the experiment, but this time with a twist. This time, instead of just bringing the children in and doing the marshmallow experiment, they would split the group of children into two. One was set up with a set of very reliable experiences, while the other group was set up with intentionally unreliable experiences. The group that had unreliable experiences would have an experience something along these lines. They would be promised a better box of crayons, but that better box of crayons never came. Or they would be promised better stickers, but those stickers never came. But on the other hand, the group that was set up with very reliable experiences always had the promises fulfilled. If they were promised a better box of crayons, it was guaranteed that they got a better box of crayons. From there, they took both groups of children and performed the marshmallow test to see how they performed. Now, there was a stark contrast between the two groups. Those who had the set of reliable experiences oftentimes waited the 15 minutes and received their second marshmallow, while the other group with the unreliable experiences had no reason to trust the researchers and therefore did not end up waiting the 15 minutes for the second marshmallow. So from this experiment, we can tell that this idea of delayed gratification is something that we can learn, sometimes in this case with this experiment, in a very short amount of time with just some crayons and stickers, but is an idea that we can learn. It is not something that we are necessarily born with. So what does this mean for you? You may be looking at a 5-year-old thinking, well, this is totally obvious. If I'm giving you a marshmallow and I say, hey, if you just wait, I'll give you a second marshmallow, it's very obvious to us, maybe as an adult, that the child should wait and get the second marshmallow. But to the child, it may not seem so obvious. So if you're sitting here thinking, what should I be doing with my paycheck? To you, it may not seem so obvious, but someone maybe double my age, it might be very obvious to them what I should be doing with my paycheck from their perspective. Now, from our perspective, looking at a 5-year-old is very easy, but again, me sitting in my seat today, what should I be doing with the resources that I have given to me today? If I didn't delay gratification, I may go out and spend my entire paycheck, and I would land myself right into a paycheck-to-paycheck scenario. Now, if you haven't followed any of my other videos, I spent 5 years digging myself out of a paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle to get to where I am today. So now I know I should actually set some of my paycheck aside to save or invest for the future, and that would be me in my own life delaying gratification and waiting for that second marshmallow. But practically, what does this look like day after day? If I'm walking through a store, how do I practically delay gratification? Personally, I use one rule. It's called the 2-week rule. I haven't come up with it. It's not original with me. It's just something that I use. If I really want something that's not just a need, if it's not just groceries or gas, but it's something extra, what I typically do is I try to wait at least 2 weeks before buying it. I may see it on the shelf, I may see it online, and I may want it, but if I say, okay, I'm not going to tell myself no, but I'm going to come back in 2 weeks and see, do I really want to buy that still? Oftentimes, I wake up the next day and think, wow, I'm really not as interested as I was yesterday. I'm glad I didn't buy it. What this helps you to do is to really delay gratification for at least 2 weeks to give you some perspective. For me, oftentimes the novelty of that item wears off over time, and I come back to it and I'm not nearly as excited to buy it, and I'm actually saving myself a lot of money by not buying it. Whereas if it's something that I truly wanted and 2 weeks later I still really want, I likely have planned and prepared financially to go buy that. So it just sets myself up better so that I'm not saying no to spending, but I'm much more in control of what I'm actually spending my money on. So that's my way of delaying gratification for at least 2 weeks to give myself some perspective into my own purchases. I also do this again with my paycheck. I take a percentage of my paycheck and I set it aside every time I get paid, and I put it either into savings or an investment. That way I can save that for the future and not just use it for today. One example of this is I got a pay raise, and instead of taking that pay raise and actually spending it, every dollar of that pay raise actually goes somewhere else. It goes directly into a savings account so that I can plan to buy a house in the future. So I hope this quick video captures for you one of the leading indicators that researchers have found really determines what will make people successful in their life. And again, this isn't just money, this actually applies to a lot of different areas of your life. If you don't play video games today, but you get your homework done, imagine how improved your grades would be tomorrow when you're in class, you understand the homework, and you did better on the quiz in the morning because you took some time and investment into yourself rather than playing video games. If you said no to whatever fast food per se and ate something a little bit healthier and you delayed that gratification, imagine how much healthier you would be over the long haul if you continued that practice. In almost all aspects of life, it makes sense that if you wait and you delay gratification, you will likely see an improved result. So for me, financially, I tried delaying gratification, not altogether. I'm not saying no to myself for everything, but again, going back to that 2-week rule, if I can just say no to myself for 2 weeks, I can oftentimes come back with a clearer focus and a better perspective and really buy the things that I truly need instead of just random things on a whim. So I hope this video has staged that and given you some context into this idea of delayed gratification and actually the research that has gone into it in studying kids and how those kids performed over their lifetime and the impact that it had on them by delaying gratification. So if you found this video helpful in any way, I ask that you please like and subscribe. Thank you.